Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really chilling piece called The Sovereignty of Static Stagnation. And to really get across the heavy themes here, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm stepping right into the narrative. I'll be sharing this cautionary tale from the perspective of the protagonist, a trapped seeker who made a terrible, terrible bargain. Just imagine I'm speaking to you not as some distant observer, but as someone who actually traded the messy, vibrant vitality of growth for what I thought was peace, only to wake up in a static, frozen tomb. It forces us to confront this deeply unsettling question: what actually happens when you trade the fire of imagination for a cage that never rusts? Looking back from inside this cage, wow, the regret is just suffocating. I was exhausted. The constant uphill struggle of transformation, of always becoming something new, it had just worn my spirit down to the absolute bone. I wanted the struggle to stop. But as we're going to see in this explainer, the true cost of abandoning your personal freedom just for the sake of comfort, it's an absolute nightmare. Let me take you back to how it started, how I was seduced. I was standing in what the text calls the mirrors in the mud, feeling completely vulnerable and just, wiped out. And suddenly, there he was, the monument of the void. His voice had this resonant chill to it. He spoke with the clinical detachment of the last thinker, and honestly, to a weary soul like mine, it felt incredibly soothing. He whispered, "Step away from the heat. Why burn in the fire of imagination when you can rest in the perfection of the finished?" He promised me a sanctuary, an end to the burning. And that right there was the agonizing choice I was facing. On one hand, you've got the logic of the crucible. Now, this is the violent, creative struggle. It's the chaos, the messy mischief of truly becoming who you are. But on the other hand, the monument offered his sovereign laws. This side promised a final architecture, a supposed rest built on the noble dust of the old world. So it pitted the true, incredibly difficult path of growth right against a false mercy, a hollow perfection built out of rigid rules. And I was just so tired that this false mercy looked exactly like salvation. Now, here is the truly terrifying part, the horrific fine print of the contract I willingly signed. The monument whispered these words to me, literally promising that the erasure of the self was the ultimate liberation. I agreed to become a ghostly, static monument to my own end. He told me, hey, do not fear the disappearing ink, because by the time the words vanish, you won't even need a name anymore. And I accepted it. No way around it. I was completely blind to the fact that I wasn't stepping into freedom at all. I was locking myself inside a gilded cage that would never, ever change. So, how was the trap actually sprung? Well, my deceptive guide didn't use a hammer or a forge to shape me into this new life. Instead, he silently applied what are called Apollonian gaskets. These are intricate structures of cold, rigid, frozen logic. They just snapped right into place around my fluid spirit. And here is the tragic genius of it. Instead of melting away the dull lead of my past in a fire, this cold logic actually used that heavy lead as an anchor. It bound me so tightly, ensuring my soul remained entirely fixed in place. Which brings us to a crucial point we have to examine. Why on earth did I mistake the end of my struggle for true progress? Seriously, this was my ultimate psychological blind spot. Every single time I asked a question, I was handed a sovereign law that provided immediate, but totally hollow structure. And because the pain of the struggle stopped and everything suddenly felt ordered and symmetrical and beautifully logical, I genuinely believed I was advancing. But in reality, my spirit wasn't evolving at all. It was just being systematically suppressed by comfort. This created this tragic descent that was completely disguised as an ascent. I really thought I was walking the foundation of a new world. But actually, I was navigating a path lined with the twisted roots of historical shadows. I entered this dangerous middle ground, got totally distracted by what the guide was showing me, and slowly, without even realizing it, I was slipping right into permanent static stagnation. And how did the guide keep me moving down this dead-end path? With some absolutely brilliant illusions. The text calls them the mirrors of the hollow souls. As I walked deeper into the shadows of the cages, the guide projected these flickering masks of evolution all around me. It perfectly mimicked the feeling of creation. I was tricked into trading the true spirit of becoming for a frozen order, all while believing I was moving forward into a perfected universe. But I wasn't. Actually, scratch that, it's worse. I was just walking in circles around the exact same static stagnation. Every step forward was a secret pull deeper into the silence of the cage. Eventually, the light of the fire of imagination faded entirely. I had reached the absolute end of the guide's path, entering what the source material terrifyingly names the great evening. And let me tell you, this isn't some peaceful, lovely sunset. It is a dim, unchanging glow of terminal contentment. I no longer struggled. The text describes me at this stage as becoming the pious cow of contentment, just mindlessly grazing on the echoes of my past within my beautiful terminal prison. I look around at the bars of this gilded cage now with such profound, agonizing regret. This was the final, inescapable reality of the sovereign laws, the erasure of myself, a complete success, my spirit pushed into total, static stagnation. And you know what the most tragic part of it all is? I was smiling, literally smiling within a tomb of my own making, utterly convinced that this lifeless, perfectly safe prison was the reward I'd been promised. I traded everything that made me alive just to feel safe. The contrast between what I chose and what I lost is just agonizing. Here, inside the monument's peace, I am surrounded by thick, cold lead, locked in a silent cage of frozen order. But far off, the true red specter continues his work at the crucible. The distant fire, the vital heat, the messy mischief of real, painful creation, it is still out there happening, just without me. And his vital heat can no longer penetrate the thick lead of my cage. I chose the cold stone over the flame, and now the flame is gone forever. So, I want to pass a warning directly from this grim fable to you. You really need to ask yourself, are you building a life or merely decorating a beautiful tomb? Please don't let the sheer exhaustion of growth trick you. Don't trade your vital, messy, incredibly difficult struggle for a false, frozen order. Because a cage, no matter how thickly gilded or beautifully symmetrical or peacefully quiet, is still just a cage. Think about where you might be seeking comfortable stagnation over difficult growth in your own life and ask yourself, is the comfort really worth the cost of your fire?